Talking Tuesday. It's what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we do in the cannabis world. We gon' let you know how the business go on a brand new show. Talking Tuesday. Show you how to do it right.
Yo, welcome to Token Tuesday, where we have real cannabis players talking real cannabis issues. If y'all watch, I've hashtag no fake news, because you got a lot of cannabis people out there, or we won't even call them cannabis people. We'll say people out there who claim they in the cannabis industry, who claim they know something about the cannabis industry, who claim they done things in the cannabis industry. And sometimes y'all following them people, and y'all following the wrong people that don't know what they talking about. So I was thinking the other day about being politically correct, and I was said, fuck politically correct, straight up. You understand me? Because it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so one thing I vowed on this show is that we going to keep it real. And keeping it real ain't always being politically correct, right?
It ain't going to make everybody feel
you know, ain't going to make everybody feel good, ain't going to make everybody happy. We ain't here to tickle your eardrums, you know what I'm saying? You know, some old funkadelic shit, if y'all know where I'm coming from. That Bootsy Collins, you know.
Eargasms.
Exactly. We here to do it in your ear hole. So anyway, yo, welcome to Token Tuesday. Make sure y'all go down and hit the subscribe button, click. We got some good topics today. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to talk about what y'all came to listen to. You know, I got Marco on my right and Ruby on my right, and then I got Keith on my left, and hey, yours truly. So we gonna jump right on into it. One thing I did want to bring up, because we were talking before the show, we were talking about making this administration pay attention to cannabis, because we have to understand, as cannabis players, as real cannabis players, they're only going to pay attention to what they pay attention to. They're going to be concerned about the tariffs. They're going to be concerned about the immigrants. They're going to be concerned about all kind of stuff. At the end of the day, when it comes to cannabis and the cannabis industry, we have to be up there with the top tier of what they're talking about. And this should be at the forefront. But the only way it's going to get to the forefront is if we get it to the forefront.
100%.
You know, and the reason why I say this, I met with a couple of city council members over the week, me and Ty. After coming from San Diego, we taught class, you know, every first Saturday we teach class at San Diego City College to a group of social equity applicants or potential social equity applicants in the social equity program in San Diego. But Ty and I were meeting with council member prior to that, early that week. One thing I've been saying is that we got to get back up to City Hall. We got to start making noise like we did before. One of the council members, chief of staff and aide, said, well, we thought everything was okay.
Ooh. And you know what's funny about that? If you think about President Trump stance on cannabis, he said, hey, I'm going to leave it to the states.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you think about that, the city, the state, and the county is getting paid well. I mean, think about it. The economy has slid over the last 5 years, but our tariffs have went up every single year.
Exactly.
You justify that.
There's no justification for that.
So you understand that they comfortable. They the fat one getting everything, getting bonbons fed to them.
And see, that's the problem. And once again, so when he said that, he said, we thought everything was okay. We didn't hear nothing from y'all on the mic. Ooh. Y'all not coming to. Bottom line, I had a couple of city council members call us out as an industry and say, we thought everything was okay because y'all not coming down to City Hall making noise.
That's true.
Making noise is what got Measure M and social equity passed. Wow. Making noise is what's gotten us from the ICO, the Interim Control Ordinance, the ICO, to Prop D. From Prop D to Measure M, from Measure M to Prop 64, or Prop 64 first, and then Measure M following right behind it, and social equity coupled with it. What made the difference is us going down there and making noise. The problem is, as they say, the squeaky wheel
Gets the oil.
come on. And the problem is we ain't being a squeaky wheel. We sitting here comfortable among ourselves in the industry.
Suffering and pain.
That's true.
Some of us suffering in silence, going out of business in silence, and all we got to do is go down to City Hall and show up.
Make noise.
Don't wait until your business is an epic failure or you're dead and out of business before you decide to holler and say help.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the industry is what's happening to us right now. The thing is that we have the power and the voice. We just have to use it. This is a democracy.
So
This is a
Virgil,
democracy.
Can I interject something there? Like, it's ironic that they call you out in that situation, and to a greater degree, I agree with them that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. But when you look at the cannabis landscape as a whole, this leans more towards needing federalization so you can be able to get to some of those foreign countries. Because think about it. Look at the margin per pound here in America. Well, let's start at the state level. So just look at it in the state versus looking at it nationally versus looking at it internationally where the opportunities are at.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because when we talk about what this administration stands for, it's about an exchange.
Yes.
That man is about an exchange.
Yes.
And if it make dollars to him, it makes sense. Right? So it's about what can you do for me, or what can you do for the country? What can you do for the economy? What can you do for the budget? You take the chains, the shackles off of cannabis, and we'll show you what it could do. You take the shackles off of us as owners and operators, and we'll show you to get down.
Yeah.
We'll show you what taxes really look like. You understand me? As long as we not shackled down to them. But if you allow us to function like a normal business without all of the 280Es and everything, that the stiff regulations and the unnecessary
Compliance
guidelines, and then you have the illicit market versus the licensed market. If we could control all of that, and you can do that with one swoop, legalization on a federal level will cover all that in one swoop.
Yeah.
It'll take care of the money problem. It'll make sure that owners and operators in the industry thrives. It'll make sure that we are now benefiting from this business, and our country is benefiting from this business, because then we can open up a lot of more doors. We can go into hemp. We can go into the textile business. We can go into we can go into so many different areas. CBD can become what it really is. Cannabis can become what it really is, and not that thing that you thought it was. Except for those that
we can really
knew
help
what it
them.
was.
We can really help make America hemp again.
Nice.
You know, because if he is about making it sense, it makes sense.
Damn. That's kind of cool. I like that. Why don't you you got to light one up to that.
Oh,
What
yes.
you got going there,
America
Ruth?
hemp
What
again.
we got here is we have a grape infused live resin and keef, California cannabis, some of the best from the West. So we're gonna light this up.
Yeah.
For
Did
those
you
that
that pop
don't
top
medicate
freshness?
with concentrates and flowers.
Okay, so she got the grape flavor. Come on, let me show that.
Show
she
the
got
grape.
the
Show the
grape
grape.
flavor. Grape flavor.
And it has a real sweet grape.
It has that real
taste.
grapey terps.
Smell.
This right here, California cannabis, where only the best grows in the West. This is what we call a drippin' J.
A
Drippin'
drippin'
J.
J. Okay, and where does the drippin' J come from?
And well, I thought of that term drippin' J because we dripped up.
The drip.
You see that? You see how it burns?
It's drip, drip.
Yeah, because that's dripping in. Before we even stuff it in there, we drip it and infuse it in some good terpy juice.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's terpy.
Oh, yeah. Some good terpy juice. So that's what you get when you get a drippin' J.
This has a really good taste. It has a really soft hit. So for everyone that likes those really nice hybrid, I feel like it's going to be a nice hybrid. It's
Absolutely.
good to kind of unwind, but not too much. Give them a try.
Now, you know what? I just want to just, with that one product, revisit what we were talking about earlier. Last week, we talked about what made California market in the 90s and the 2000s so popular. And you guys said California been a destination for flower.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
When you think about it, if states were to, and we're just talking about particularly California since they were the oldest in there, were allowed to put that same product online and someone was able to, we talking about it here, able to experience it, maybe in Zambia, maybe in Malawi. This is stifling our products to basically say
Reach
you
the
only can
world.
sell that within the borders of your state.
Yeah, we can reach the world with this product. Do you
on.
know what California? Look, come on, man. Do y'all know what California could do if we could reach the world with our cannabis? I mean, and let's keep it real. We've already been reaching the world with our cannabis, but unfortunately,
That's true.
you can only get it in certain places in other countries that we was slick enough to get it over there. The same way you had cats that were slick enough to bring that original chocolate tie from overseas to here.
Right.
So now the roles have reversed, right? Because now it ain't us wanting cannabis from somewhere else. It's everybody wanting cannabis from here. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And so Keith brings up a very great point. Man, the American economy, if we put cannabis in perspective, man, can bring trillions of dollars.
Yeah, it will.
Trillions of dollars. Look at the wine industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's a multi-billion, in as long as it's been around now, $1 trillion industry, right? Look at all of the other industries that have thrived because they had the support and the backing. But it's up to us at the end of the day to bring that to the forefront and to, once again, make that front and center stage.
Right.
We have to get out of our seats. We have to go to D.C. We have to get the media out and pay attention.
Yeah.
It should be hundreds and thousands of us from different states locking arms over cannabis and the legalization of cannabis on a federal level. That's the only way. There has to be a sense of solidarity. When you think about the states that have some form of legalization, let's go from California. Right next door is Arizona. Right next door is New Mexico. Right next door is then, you got Texas and Oklahoma. You have damn near a connecting state that can take you all the way back east of legalization. Because we damn near we got 40-something states that have legalized in some form or some fashion.
Whether it's medicinal or recreational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, come on, man. That we could lock those states ought to be standing up right now, all at one time. We should have cannabis march, make hemp and cannabis great again.
Yeah.
March, and we
should.
should all from every state have that same march on the same day, and have media out there letting them know that we're not gonna be quiet no more about cannabis.
Yeah.
We should just
And
do
everybody
it,
should be firing it up.
yeah.
You understand me? And we
Well,
need to be on the federal
And then
steps.
it'll show them what unity looks like, because we already know that cannabis brings people together.
Absolutely. I mean, shoot, I remember the last time in 2008, we was standing on a federal building, standing on the steps of the federal building, rallying, right? And when the feds, when they came and scooped me up, well, I remember one of them said, "We saw you out there." Just like that. We saw you out there rallying. Because I was on the bullhorn. He said, "We saw you out there rallying." So they pay attention.
Yeah, they
For
do.
him to even mention that, you already got
Yeah.
me in custody. You could have
Yeah.
just said, swept that under the rug and let it go. But it was important enough for him to let me know that he seen me out there rallying.
Not only that, you don't remember, I don't know if it was that time, but there was another time that we went up to the state capitol, and I remember Donnie was with us.
Absolutely.
One of the things that they said to us, they're like, we see you guys in here, but it's like 5-10 of you. Where's the rest of the people?
Exactly.
And
It's almost like when they handed out the social equity licenses. Because if you look at the core groups of people who are fighting each fight, because you come from like 2 major fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The
Retail
last
and
fight,
public.
which was a social equity, but that was mainly minorities
Yeah.
that came and rallied together. And then you came from the first fight, but that was the real stone. That was real. That was the white
legacies.
dudes. And but you guys were really standing on cannabis.
Yes.
But what it is, don't you think? It's almost like leaders like yourself and leaders. It's almost like you guys did your fight. It's now somebody else. It's almost like somebody else got to have that hunger for it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Almost like during that time, that hunger for it was there, but you did your time
Yeah.
with that hunger.
Yeah.
You just did it this last time.
Yeah.
But it's like now somebody else has to kind of like have that hunger.
Who's gonna take the torch?
Yeah, who's gonna come with it? You know, that's
And
really
right
what it
now,
comes
I
down.
don't see anybody.
Yeah, and the reason why I say the social equity thing,
we
because the
gotta
last
step it up.
fight was us minorities putting up for it, but it almost like in life when they give us a little bit of something,
Yeah, we go away.
You
we
get
go away.
get
So
complacent.
it feels like, it feels
Yeah.
like since the social equity licenses and things were given away, our hunger for that fight as a group doesn't matter anymore because some
Yeah.
are winning. So it's like, or some think they're winning.
That's
But
true.
Marco,
Some think
here-
they're winning.
You really got to elevate that conversation because when you think about it, yeah, they gave us a little bit, but then the yoke, like what it took to keep that little bit. Like we talk about the tariffs, but what about the unreasonable, like 40,000 square foot facilities, but yet no plans of the city helping to, help fund or even help business stay in there? Like
Right.
there should have been retail before you had cultivation because the cultivators was growing for who?
Exactly.
We couldn't go outside the state. You
Yeah.
couldn't go outside the city. So who was you growing for?
Yeah.
And it's like no one was held accountable for just the piss poor rollout of the cannabis program.
Well,
And-
I kind of disagree on that, and the reason why I say that, Keith, and you did hit a very good point, but the reason why I would disagree is because the pre-ICOs were always here. That's why we're called pre-ICOs. There were over 450 stores to 500 stores in California, in LA alone, from San Pedro to the Valley, right? And I knew that because I did the numbers on that. Janice Hahn, when she was city council member, I was working closely with her office to give her the numbers on what it looked like, right? And so we had 450, roughly around 500 shops at that time. This was right before the ICO was brought into play, right? And sitting on that steering committee. Marco, what you got?
Shit, I got. Let me. Okay, quick interruption. You know what I'm saying?
Quick interruption.
Yeah, quick little interruption. We got the knockout diamonds.
KOD.
Come on, let me do a little zoom in right here. KOD. Hold up, little zoom in. But this is the modified grapes.
Go
Just
pop
so you
that
know, the
thing
flower
out
inside
and
is
tell
the-
me what
Hey,
it's looking like while I'm.
Is that an
KOD.
homage to J. Cole?
Hey,
KOD.
I brought that before J. Cole did.
Well,
See,
hey, look,
I made that before J. Cole did.
I need to know.
Yeah, so I'm the one who bring the KOD into play. But so getting back to what I was saying, the reason why I disagree on that is because we fought for the retails to be legitimized, right? And under the ICO, that was our first passage of legitimizing retail. And cultivation, keep in mind, cultivation always existed before retail.
It's the first.
Right, that's the first, because how you think the streets was open?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then retail
we had the
couldn't really.
streets open
Yeah.
because we was going to get them packs up north.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
And the retail
Was the
existed
streets.
because it was under the cultivation, meaning when you had a collective, that's because you're growing weed for those people. They
Right,
don't know that you're
100%.
buying weed for those
Exactly.
people. It's supposed to be
Exactly.
cultivated
For
for
those
those people.
For those people. So that was the
You see what I'm
compassionate use act. Now, right? But when we brought in the ICO was to now present the retail as a legitimate
its own
business,
entity,
right?
yeah.
And so that's why we were required to register as pre-ICOs under the Interim Control Ordinance, the ICO. That's why we are considered pre-ICOs to this day, right? So under that ordinance, it legitimized now retails, because the retails was the streets, was the projects, was the block, was the alley, was the
Supermarket
was the
parking
house,
lot.
Yeah.
was parking lot pull up.
Yeah.
That was the retail. So we legitimized the retail. So now cultivation has somewhere for their product to go, right?
Yeah.
And then when we brought in Measure M, you got to keep in mind the first group that got in were the pre-ICOs.
Right.
That
Man,
was
as
200
it should have been.
That was 200 stores that were automatically legalized.
Correct.
And
But
then
many took a hit coming in.
exactly.
Yeah,
so
I
that
thought it
was
less than
that
200.
was
Many took a
phase
hit.
1.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that was phase 1. What was phase 2? Cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, right? So when you say they ushered it in wrong, no,
So hold on one second. Now we're gonna get to my point. On the first round, it was a lawsuit. And a lot of those retail licenses were held up. Only
they
the
weren't.
ICO
No, they
ones
weren't.
made it
No,
through.
they weren't. No, they
because
weren't.
I thought it was.
No, they weren't. Listen, brother. I'm telling you what I know because I'm a pre-ICO 3 times, so I know what I'm talking about. Plus, I was in the mix of all of that, right? This was, and we still talking back in 2007 and 2008 before
Right,
a
no,
lot
no,
of
no.
people.
I'm talking about
I know,
18.
but hold on. I'm gonna get to that. Because I got to show you where it came from so that you understand that, no, it went in order the way it was supposed to go. Now, how the city screws it up after the order was set,
'cause that's
a
what I'm
whole
trying to
different
get to.
ball game. But hold on. So the shops were now legalized, which was us, the pre-ICOs. We were let in first. But it wasn't that we were let in. We never had to shut down because we wasn't about to close our doors for no ordinance to get in order. That wasn't going to happen in L.A. There would have been anarchy. It would have been chaos.
Yeah.
So we wasn't doing that, and the city understood that. So now they licensed us, right? They let us in. Now they got to say, well, where they going to get their product from? Because that was the first question I asked. Where you think it's going to drop out the sky? The product got to come from the cultivators. So you got to legalize the cultivators in order for us to have a legal channel for the product to come through.
Right.
And the manufacturers, so that we could get the edibles and the vape pens and all of that, right? And then distribution so it could go from point A to point B. That was what was ushered in first. It just took them forever to license certen people that is slow to process down and choked certain
people in
things
debt.
out, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
I was...
So that's what I'm speaking to.
Yes.
The
so,
process.
So, but the order of it was done right. I have to say that because we were a part of putting that order into play. Now, once again, like I said, when the city got it, it's a whole nother ball.
So we gonna agree that the order was right, but the way that the order was implemented was screwed up.
What
which
did
hurt people.
What did you? I know, but what did you always hear me say? Legislation is one thing. Implementation
is another.
Is another thing.
Yeah.
So I could write a piece of perfect legislation.
But how you apply it.
But
and
when
how
you implement that piece of perfect legislation into something that you may not even truly understand, right? Or that you may not know how to make it work, you could have a perfect piece of legislation that fits into a square like a circle. Because implementation and legislation, them two different things. And if you don't understand implementation before you create the legislation, and listen to what I say when I say that again, if you don't understand implementation before you create the legislation, you're going to make a screwed up piece of policy that's not going to work for whatever you're trying to make it work for.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest issue with what we do here. And I'm talking on a federal level, on a state level, and on a city level. A lot of the people that are creating certain policies do not understand the implementation part. Because if they thought about all of the things when it came to implementing something, there'd be a lot of things they wouldn't implement.
Yeah.
Let me give you a prime example since we talking about, and we kind of touched on the presidential thing. When they made California a sanctuary state, that's where they fucked up. And why do I say that? Because when you say, I'm going to make a sanctuary state for the people, what you're doing is also making a sanctuary state for those that shouldn't have sanctuary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you throw a whole blanket out there and you covering a whole group of people. And guess who's going to take advantage of those situations?
Usually the fucked up people. Yeah.
Come on, man. We all know that. So if you thought about that and implemented and said, we're going to make a sanctuary state, but everybody that we grant sanctuary to, we need to know who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
Because we ain't just granting a sanctuary state to a motherfucker that just murdered somebody.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so this is what I'm talking about, implementation and knowing what happens if I implement this situation right here. Guess what's getting ready to happen? And that's the problem. You see what I'm saying? We blanketly do stuff. We want to pull on heartstrings and stuff like that and want to make people feel sympathetic about certain things. But how you going to feel sympathetic about somebody that just murdered somebody?
Yeah. You can't.
You can't feel sympathetic to that person. Or how do you feel sympathetic about a person who done broken your shit and took your shit? You understand me? And then it's like, shit, how did you even get here? Now you thinking about the whole problem. Oh, you slid up under this act right here that these people just blanketly threw out there and didn't think about the public safety aspect of those that want to take advantage of that program. Because guess what? Now you got people abusing the program by human trafficking.
Yeah.
And now you got people saying, oh, they letting people in. Well, now I got a job. Somebody that didn't have a job got a job now. And guess what his job is? Human trafficking. You know what I'm saying? And now he going to smuggle people in for $1 or $2.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. So, tonight President Trump did his State of the Union speech, and he mentioned in there charging $5 million for a person to get a rapid citizenship.
His gold
Gold card.
What do you?
That's a gold card.
So what do you think about this gold card?
One thing everybody better know, that Trump is transactional.
That's it.
And if we understand that we dealing with somebody that's transactional, shit, what if we been all our lives being in the cannabis industry?
Transaction.
That's why I'm
We've been
saying that
transactional,
this
right?
is the
So
time
we
for
need to
us
go
to get it
And
done.
get us a green
Yes.
card.
Hey, come
Yes.
on, man.
See,
We
wait
need
a minute.
to
Because-
hit him up and say, this is a transaction.
Yes,
What do you think about
yes,
this green
card? Understand
and,
me?
and we agree with what you say because he keeps saying that he wants to make America great again, right? So yes, in agreement with all that, it makes sense.
Cannabis gonna make America great again.
Not only
So,
healthy but financially.
Here's the thing. Like when you guys mentioned earlier about like the March on Washington and basically trying to get collaboration of people and support.
It's on point.
You know the one thing that
Very
I think
on
about, I think this is a holistic health care issue. Like if you look at the past 100 years, we've been very pharmaceutical centered to
Yes.
try to heal people.
Yes.
And if you look at all the inflammation and all the dementia, and just think about all the diseases that have been created by trying to have a pharmaceutical centered medical system.
Yeah.
To me, I think this is an opportunity for a holistic arm to your healthcare, and cannabis, psilocybin, and some of the natural processes being the center of it.
I agree with you. And while I'm speaking, Keith, what you got over there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have the best. This is the farm, California Cannabis Farms. Now, the
That's a
farm is up
hybrid.
in Humble, and when we talk about that Emerald Triangle, this man has one right there in that Mediterranean where all the best foods, best medicines are gonna grow. So just know that when you come right here to the Soto location, you're getting something that was picked right off the farm, and hey, that's a farmer's market right in your back door.
Now, I also see you got a sweatshirt on. Well, talk to us about that, Keith.
So we have a new collaboration going on.
Take your headphones off and stand up.
Oh, I do that one better.
Yeah, come on, man. Talk to me now. All right, so yeah, okay, so that's exotic. I mean, ecstatic. I keep
edibles.
wanting to say exotic.
At first I thought
Show
it said
the sleeve,
ecstachio,
too.
but
Ecstatic.
it's ecstatic.
Edibles.
So Melanie Comarcho, the comedian, did a collaboration with California Cannabis for static edibles. What we're looking at with this brand is a combination of comedy and cannabis as therapy.
You see, they got them sexy ass boots on there. Hey, Melanie, I want to come knock them boots.
She gonna be here, so like we rewinding them when she here.
Hey, I'm gonna knock them boots.
Yeah, so coming soon.
Hey, but yeah, so yeah, go on and do your thing. Transactional. We understand that this man is transactional. And we've been transactional from the day we got in the industry. We got in the industry because it was all about a transaction.
Yes.
Whether it was the first time you met your supplier, which was a transaction.
You gotta
know
bring
what
that transaction back.
Exactly.
It's how it started, you know?
So with this industry, it concerns me because I've watched a lot of people converge on this industry and settle in. So I went to that mixer.
Yes.
And so I went to that mixer, and it seems like every time I go to places where there's a bunch of cannabis people, I feel like I'm the oldest cat in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean the oldest cat in the room
In
as
general
far as
by age, but in terms of your
knowledge
how
and
long you've been in the
information.
game.
Which one did you go to?
And so I started talking to people.
Which one did you go to?
I'm sorry.
What event did you go to?
It was
normal.
Yeah, it was a
with our
normal
buddy
mixer.
Ian that was here.
Oh, I love normal.
Ian
It was a
Rasman.
normal mixer.
Yeah.
So the thing that I noticed is I'll start talking to people like they've been in the industry forever. And then I'll begin to look at their face and see this look on their face, which is alluding to me that they don't have a clue what the hell I'm talking about, right? And so I'm saying, like, yeah, you remember when back in the, and they're looking at me like, and then
I just started 6 months ago.
exactly, and then
Back
I
in
have
the
to
day was
pause.
last year.
Hey, it's funny that you say that because I'll pause for a minute and I'll say, oh, how long you been in the industry? Oh, I just got in about a year and a half ago, or I got in a year.
Yeah,
and then I'm
you
like,
try to
oh,
tell him
snap.
30 years worth of information.
You know,
I remember my
Yeah.
first conversation. I was like, 96.
You know what that-
and because with brother talk, and some of us do we throw out dates for a reason.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Because I got to let
Because you got timeline. Maybe your timeline is just a year and a half ago. Sorry, but his timeline 1993, 1994, 1996, 1999, 2000, 2001. Let me all just
You sitting up there looking like, damn.
you know what I think that is, Virgil? I think that's a prime example of how the industry choked out all the real players.
Yeah.
A lot of people that started didn't really make it.
The last of the Mohicans right here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was a point of them not making it because a lot of my colleagues sold out and left.
I was about to say.
And
Well,
went to
think-
other states. They didn't fail out of the industry. You know, they didn't fail, not fall, but
They sold out
of the industry. Some of them saw the change coming, wasn't willing to accept the wave of change. And they said, look, let me just go on and cash out while I have a chance.
Yeah.
Some of them did very well because they cashed out when the market was high.
When it was high, yeah.
And so they were able to cash out. And then remember, I told you guys, see, what you guys don't remember the history, a lot of them left for Denver.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the Denver market got started.
Because of California people.
Come on, man.
Yeah, my people in the valley were all leaving in 2006.
Yeah, you did touch on this
and they were
last-
leaving.
last-
boom.
yeah,
they
last
went to
time.
Colorado right before Colorado legalized because they knew any of us who've been doing this, we study the market. Like we study what's next.
Exactly.
Even if we don't jump ship, we know you could jump ship.
Yeah.
So
and
what
we
we
had
tasting
that.
like, Keith? You ain't even.
So you're
you ain't
absolutely
even
correct.
fired it up.
You're absolutely correct about that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. People
He
went
act
to
like
Denver.
he's scared over there.
I know. Come on,
This
Keith.
has a
Come
really
on,
good
Keith.
taste.
I'm
The
trying to
modified
keep my
grapes?
life insurance. I got some gummies.
Oh, okay. His life insurance. He got to worry about that life insurance. I heard
I
that.
got 2 kids.
But that's why
I ain't
even
mad
that's why
at you.
even the gentleman that was kind of cool that I liked having here too, because he just could talk that old school stuff. And what's cool is, you know, some of us are here to tell a story and a history too. You know, like you're gonna get like real educational stuff. You're gonna find out about laws and business practices and this and that. But I mean, there comes like memories and events that took place. You know, that maybe a person wasn't as influential on the money side of things or on this side of things, but on the culture itself, somebody still stood for
And
something.
it's
You know
funny,
what I'm saying?
It's funny when you said that, Marco, because what you did is spark a memory in my mind. And I remember this vividly, right? And the federal raids were going on in L.A. And the federal raids they did a raid right when they hit the gavel of the ICO and we were in City Hall. And I might have told you guys this story, and our phones started ringing, and everybody in the chambers phones started ringing, right? That were industry people, because we were all linked to one, like we had an alert system, like an Amber Alert system was on our phone for the industry. This is how tight knit we were.
Yeah.
And when the raid started popping off, our phones started Amber Alerting, right? And I don't know if it was Cannabis Alert or whatever, but that's when the feds was coming in deep. And so our phones went off, and it said like 14 raids was going down simultaneously, all on Santa Monica and Sunset Boulevard. I remember after the raids, we all converged. Everybody was scared, paranoid, the whole 9 yards. Then they sent the landlord DEA threat letter out, right? We all converged on this warehouse downtown, and this room was filled, and it was a secret location that we announced at the very end, right, at the last minute, so we didn't have any moles in the place. I remember being in that room, and it was jam-packed with owners. Now, keep in mind, there was 400 or some owners that that operated. Now, not every last one of them was there, but the overwhelming majority of the industry was there. I remember vividly being in that room packed, and people, you could see the shookness, scaredness on their face. Like, these people were in this room petrified, wanting to receive any form of an answer of comfort or something to make them feel better about leaving out tonight, going to sleep when you go home, and wake up and opening up your shop the next day. Because at that moment, we all opened up our shops and said, is this the day that I'm going to get raided? That was on your mind every time you opened up the shop. That's real history. And when you said that, I remember standing in that room, and everybody was in there crying and whining and crying and whining. And I picked up a daily LA Weekly magazine, because back then LA Weekly was advertising cannabis. And I opened up that page, and I thumbed through that whole page, and I said, look at these advertisements that you guys have in the LA Weekly. I said, and we're supposed to be medical cannabis, and y'all want them to respect us and treat us like medical cannabis, and look at your advertisement. And they, of course, had advertisement of girls that had bikinis with the pot leaves on it, and it was just all the risque advertisement. But we sitting here under the Medical Marijuana, the Compassionate Use Act, and them advertisements, even as a player, man, them advertisements wasn't representing medical cannabis.
Right.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
so I had to let them know, because, see, I'm always that one in the room that's going to call everybody out. I'm going to keep it real. I ain't, I'm in the bullshit, but I'm going to still call bullshit when I see it, even though I'm in the bullshit, right? And so me being there, they looked around, like, looking, and everybody knew what I was talking about. Now, when I advertised, mine was strictly medical. Right. When you saw The Holistic Caregivers Inc., it was medicine, medicinal, blah, blah, this. Everything, my shit was sterile. And so I let them know, I'm one of the hardest players in the industry. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm one of the hardest players in the industry. But when we have to show and present ourselves to the public, then damn it, we got to do it a different way.
Yeah.
We know how to play when we play. But when it's time to step in front of everybody, listen, I mean, ain't that what politicians do? They know how to play when it's time to play, right?
Yeah.
But when they step in front of that camera, or they step in front of the media, they have a whole different tune that they singing and a whole different face that they have on when they out playing where they play.
They have a certain terminology.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
You know?
So we as an industry have to understand
Yeah.
that, you know, like you said, when you sparked that up, it made me think about that moment that we was all in that warehouse and we were all talking about it. And they were looking to, at that time, for Don Duncan and a few other people to give a few words of encouragement. But what the heck was Don going to say? Shit, he wasn't going to stop the feds from coming in because they raided his 2 stores too when he had PCG and LAPCG. So it wasn't much that anybody could say at that point is that, except for, shit, strap up. It's
Yeah.
coming. And we don't know when it's coming. We don't know how it's coming or how hard it's going to come.
But it's coming.
But just know it's coming. And as long as you operate, and I operated with that, they coming to see me at any time attitude, I ran a very strict business and a very strict locations, and I had 6 of them back then. And running those locations, understanding I followed every letter of the law that was given to me under the Compassionate Use Act, Prop 215 and SB 420 to the T, so that if you do come at me, you gonna get me, right, for selling cannabis. But I'm gonna have all of these things that I have as a line of defense
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
I followed every guideline that was given to me.
Yep.
So if you fuck me, you just gonna fuck me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah,
just
you're not, you don't have no justification. You're just doing it to do it.
you're just
Yeah.
doing it to doing it, and your only justification would be is that it's not federally legal.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the only justification that you have. Although it's legal in the state and in the city,
That's your only card that you could use.
that was the only card that you was gonna have to pull, and that's the only card that they could pull when they came to see me. Because of course they eventually came to see me, right?
You know what's amazing about this? It's been a 54-year fight of cannabis prohibition. There's been many promises where we've got like right there, and yet through it all is the DEA on January 25th postponed the trial, and it's just in the abyss right now. Like, we literally in a holding pattern. Honestly, it's like, I think we right there. And I know the optimism from the history of how many times you've been right there. I just think that America right now, our health, like, think
We
about
need
our
it.
gut health and the inflammation that's being caused by the food that we eat. Cannabis is definitely going to help with the inflammation and the pain and the nausea.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a doctor that already said that a lot of the conditions are because we're cannabinoid deficient.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think this is a perfect time for us to take advantage of it because we really can prove that it helps us. We really can prove that it's going to help the environment, and we really can prove that
You know what's
financially it's going to make a big difference.
You know what's interesting? I think now that when I hear it, when we talk about it, and I think that's what I was saying last week at the end. I think what's challenging is when it's just looked at from the medicinal lens.
Yeah.
Like, meaning, like, because it's preached so much about medicine, it has a huge fight with pharmacists.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it needs to just be recreational. Just like for instance, have you noticed if they, what do they say is good for your eyes?
Carrots.
Mushrooms is good for it. What fruit is it? Carrots. Carrots are good for your eyes.
Yeah.
But if you know that, but they don't push that as a health thing.
No.
It's just a carrot.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's up to you to know the benefits of something.
Yeah.
But if you box it in this medicinal world, the fight is always going to be against us.
Exactly.
Because
it's gonna be
you're trying to
only
state a
medicinal.
fact now.
Yeah.
You're trying to state a
a
proof.
really
You're trying
good
to
point.
you're trying to state a fact.
Yeah.
You need to just let it be what
This
it is.
bigger than medicinal.
That's
You know
a
what I
good
mean?
point. I
like
wonder-
you're trying to tell people for sure this is what it does.
Yeah.
So
And then it
Marco,
needs way more clinical things. It needs way more clinical proving. It needs many years of this and
I
that.
have one question to that then. So if you look at the Rastas, they look at it as more of a spiritual thing.
That's fine.
So my question is this. is it okay for us to profit from cannabis?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I like what Marco said,
Big
and
Pharma.
I like what
trying.
both of you guys said, but I agree with what Marco says, because one thing I don't believe is putting something in a box that could do more.
Yeah.
When you box cannabis in, you limit the ability for cannabis to be what it truly can be, right? And it's not just for medicinal purposes.
Right.
Cannabis has so many different connections and properties to it, and so many cannabinoids and so many things. You have hemp, you have cannabis, you have CBD. When you strictly just put it to medicinal, then what about building a home?
Yeah.
You understand? What about
Yeah.
the textile part of it? What about our clothing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we could wear hemp wear. That's not medicinal.
That's not
So
medicinal.
what you are doing is you're like Marco said, you're putting it in a box, and we should never box in cannabis.
Yeah.
We've allowed them to box in cannabis by saying it's a drug.
Yeah.
And so if you look at what they've done to box it in, you're doing the same thing, just on a different level, right? And so what we don't want to do, and if you read like The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and if you have read that,
Oh, yes.
then you would understand that there
Yes.
is no way you could box cannabis in
No.
to just cannabis consumption, hemp, or anything hemp derived, or CBD, or CBN, or CBG, CBH.
Yeah.
All of the cannabis functions and parts of the molecular structure of cannabis
Yeah.
that we have, like Marco said, which I disagree with him on that. There is tons of research that has been done in the world.
Yeah.
They just haven't allowed us to do it right here in America.
Yeah.
But we
Right.
could
The
go
research
to
on what,
other
though?
countries. We could go to other countries and get research that has been done on cannabis over 30 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we got two patents that got empirical data that's available. Like,
Absolutely.
But all that is subjective to the time that it was tested, though, because nutrients have changed, ways of growing have changed,
Absolutely.
different genetics have changed.
Well, no, like so.
Meaning, like,
Raphael
if you did a
Matula-
test 30 years ago,
You
it's
talking
from-
about it? You talking about evolution, though?
Yes.
right?
See,
we just
evolution
talking
is
about the
different.
patent of what it'll
But-
do.
and what I would and what I'm saying, evolution is great, right? Because we always need evolution to prove that this can do this now, this can do this now.
Yeah.
But what we want to start out is with our baseline, and we have that information for our baseline,
Yeah.
right? To say that this is medicinal, this is good,
Yeah.
this is even good just to consume it, like just same way they say that Restival, which is in your wine,
Yeah.
is good for your heart,
Yeah.
right? Healthy heart. So if you drink a glass of wine a day, that's a,
day,
red wine a day, that's good for you. The same way if you smoke a joint a day,
Puff
for
a
somebody
day.
who's dealing with some type of pain or some type of
A
inflammation,
joint a day keeps
or
cancer at bay.
cancer at bay, or somebody even with
or
with
just
with
eat
some
an apple a
mental-
day, keep the dentist away.
with
They
mental
gotta.
issues or dealing with certain stresses of life, right? Instead of going home kicking your dog and beating your wife, you fire up a joint. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of going home and beating on your kids, you know what I'm saying? Then you fire up a joint, you relax and kick back and make better decisions. When and they say you ain't supposed to promote smoking and driving, but let me tell you something. I swear, you make better
Patient.
decisions.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
slows
I
it down.
agree.
You make
Yeah.
better decisions when you high, because that cat you want to run off the road and cuss out, you be like, go on, man.
Yeah.
Not only
you
that,
know,
you're very careful. You don't want to get pulled over. So you're following all the rules. You're putting your signals,
Yeah.
You doing
What I
everything
wanted
right.
to add to that, I at first I was like, I disagree with what you say, but then I agree. What I think, like, what I want to focus on as well is we just need to keep advocating the importance of the endocannabinoid system, because I think we're missing a big part right there. I don't think people comprehend that we're born with this system that functions with cannabis, and that if we just look into it and we do our own research, we're going to realize that, one, it is very unique to every human being. So what works for me is not going to work for you. But that doesn't mean it's not going to work. And then we have different alternatives. You don't have to smoke it. We can juice it.
Or you can eat it.
Yes. And then it goes
rub it
into
on.
also knowing the difference that cannabis and hemp are cousins. It doesn't mean that they're not the same, but they're very similar but different.
Exactly.
And that's why I say that this is the time for us to really spear into more education and to help people see that not only would it benefit the environment, it's going to benefit human beings. So it's going to help us in every way.
Well, I think what you're saying is that it's another cog to the wheel, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so, of course, we need all of those cogs on that wheel to drive that bike moving forward. And what Marco said, what you said, even what Keith said, because we need the medicinal. We need to understand how our cannabinoid system and our endocrine system operates. But we also don't need to box none of that in. Why?
Yeah.
Because that can be broadly educated and taught to people to give them a level of understanding of what this does for us as a whole, right? And then therefore you begin to strip away a lot of the things, just like turmeric. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or cayenne pepper.
Lion's mane, all those things.
All of the
GI,
things,
yeah,
the
all of
natural stuff that we
Silogit, all
have that are good for you. You know what I'm saying? But we're not educating people. One thing we have here in this world is information at the palm of our hand.
Yes,
First,
yes,
okay.
and I think that was my argument last week. It's that I don't know, call it what you want to call it, but I think some of us just overly emphasize how much people need to do for others, when it's really a self thing. Yeah. If you don't want to know what is good for you and what is not good for you, dude, how can you just expect an entire government body to just convince all these people to think differently? That's a you choice. Just like it's a you choice to get up and run every morning a mile a day if you want to feel healthy.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't want to run a mile a day and you don't know the benefits to your heart and the benefit to your lungs, that's on you.
Yeah.
It's a self thing. The government can't just wake up and be like, everybody wake up, run a mile a day because it's important to run a mile a day.
I have to disagree with that because I think the government can. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you some examples on how the government made everybody think a certain way, right? Because that's what they do. That's why the government is involved in the film industry.
Right.
And they tell the film industry what to put out because they want to sway the opinion of the Americans a certain way. The same way that the government said, let them put out milk makes your bones healthy and strong, right?
Right.
And we grew up thinking that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, somebody said, hey, that ain't really true. So now it says the milk does somebody good, does the body good. Hey, that ain't true. And then now it's just got milk.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But even then, during all those times, it's up to you to really differentiate if they're talking about it. Because even then, you should know what milk does if you're an educated individual. Just because there's propaganda, again, it leads to the individual. Propaganda is there to confuse the masses. The masses will always be redirected somewhere, but it's still an individual choice. Because even as they're doing milk does the body good, there's people like us who might have been like, no, it doesn't. And guess what? Just because the masses is stupid like that doesn't mean some of us individuals are. Life to me still is a self thing because someone's trying to persuade you one way. Whether there's always someone trying to misguide you or tell you something, and it's an individual's choice to dissect the information that's being given to them. I want to know, is Apple good? Let me do my research. Just because there's a 50 million commercials saying that apples are good, maybe I should still, and especially when things are overly paid for, then there's usually a bad cause with it. And that's whoever's spending a lot of money to push us something is usually not for the better.
But I'm going to tell you something. That's just hold on. That's just like the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Everybody saying the tariffs is bad. The tariffs is bad. The tariffs is bad, right? When you are making a change on something,
my joint was in there.
There's a period that you got to go through before you get to the other side.
Yeah.
And if this dude is smart enough to see that these folks have been ripping us off as a country, right? And all of the jobs has left America and went elsewhere. And the only thing we care about is paying less, but we don't care about keeping America employed.
Right.
Right? Because that's the biggest issue. When all of the companies left and went to Taiwan and China and everywhere else, guess who got the brunt of it? Americans. Why? Because we had industries and jobs taken from us.
Yeah, we became even more consumers.
And we became dependent on other countries.
That was part of the New World Order.
What Trump is saying, that I put these tariffs on you, it's going to make you bring these companies back to America, right?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, that's going to drive the prices up. Yeah, it is. But look, whenever change is being made, change ain't easy. You got to tighten your belt buckle up and say, if I'm willing to make sure my kids have a better future, then I got to tighten my belt buckle up and I got to go for this ride. We thinking way small when that dude thinking way big. And I see it as a businessman. Okay, so what? Tariffs on shit, then I'm going to start getting my stuff made in the U.S. So what? I'm going to pay $1 or $2 more. But at the end of the day, I'm keeping somebody here employed. I'm keeping the industry going here. And guess what? I'm keeping my industry going. You see what I'm saying? Because if I have a business, then I can give a job.
Yeah.
If an industry is here, then they can give jobs. Giving jobs to people who need jobs, damn, that ain't a good thing.
Yeah.
You understand me? So
Yeah. You got all the good questions. So we always, when we stop, we look at you, Keith.
nah, I mean, you want to speak on that.
I did have something to interject, but
Okay, go on.
Go ahead, Keith.
my old times, my brain is just not picking it up right now.
Okay,
Y'all-
well, hey, well, I ain't
y'all
mad
put
at
me
you.
on the spot.
It's
So
a contact high.
Hey, at the end of the day,
Okay, no. So wait, this is two things I want to talk about. So Virgil meeting after the raid, you know what that sound like the Declaration of Independence, like when all the people got together and knew that they needed something different, and someone was bold enough to say, hey, let's come together and do something different. Like, this is a recap. Like Marco, you know what? You convinced me this time when you say don't just look at that as medicinal, because you're right. Like, if it was the choice of me being intoxicated on alcohol or just taking a joint, and it's definitely going to be taking a joint. We have to really, really look at this from a standpoint of what's the need. I tell every entrepreneur, before you create a product, what's the need that you're going to solve? Right now, today in America, here's the list of problems that we got going on: depression, anxiety, stress, inflammation, poor gut health. Cannabis will solve some of these problems. That's the only reason why I try to fit it into the box of medicinal, because there's some problems that exist that this will solve.
This is the reason I can't do it. And that's why I said last week that for people in my community, I come from the Valley, I get it, we're all different, right? But I come from a community that medicinal was just a language to allow us to be recreational. No matter, we weren't Rastas, and so we didn't have to look at it from my family's Jamaican too. I got Jamaican family. I get the Rasta side, but in the Valley, we weren't Rastas like that. We might use the colors to paint the place and make it look like that, and put Bob Marley pictures and stuff like that, because that's just what everybody else did. But it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with us just wanting to just do our thing. And I'm gonna use this as an example. To me, anything is medicinal if you use it right.
Yep.
And to me, everything is bad if you use it wrong.
Yeah.
So weed is medicinal until you smoke 10 blunts.
Exactly.
Weed is
All right,
medicinal
that's fair.
until you
That's fair.
smoke 50 blunts.
Exactly.
And some
Right.
cats just want to smoke 50 blunts.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel me? And alcohol for a person like me, sometimes if I go to my office in Chatsworth or wherever I'm doing briefly, and my family's at home or something, and my next door neighbor who does welding in my office, and he's next door, my buddy, and whatever. Hey, Marco, here's a shot of mezcal every day or whatever. If I just see him randomly, which I try not to go there every day. I go like 3 times a month or whatever, because otherwise I'd be drinking mezcal every day. But what I'm saying is, Marco, bro, I could come, bro, one shot. And I might be in a mood where I'm like, and you know, we got family. I got 4 kids. I got 4 daughters. It's not like I'm stressed. I'm always happy. But at the end of the day, I can't pretend like I might not be overwhelmed by something. I might just be overwhelmed by something. And guess what? That one little shot of mezcal makes me go back to my family like it was medicine. That one little shot of mezcal makes me go back and opens me up as if it was medicine, because I'm in a good mood again. Now my kid, oh, come here, baby, come here. And maybe when I left, I was a little bit more uptight, and I come back loose. Isn't that medicine? because it shifted me and it made me feel a better way. But if I would have taken 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 shots, now I'd be drunk.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So weed is the same thing. I think anything is the same thing in life. If you overly eat, that's bad.
Yeah.
If you eat a small meal, that's good. So it don't matter what we talking about in life. It's the consumption of how much we're talking about things in life.
And I agree with you 1,000%.
You know what I'm saying?
on
I
that.
agree.
It's definitely the
You know, I'm
consumption.
gonna
I
tell my
agree,
wife
but-
that too much of her is bad.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And Marco said,
I agree, but the only thing is, so what if you have, because where you grew up, right? People were just doing it recreationally.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We did it recreationally without, because this is what I will say. Let me state this. The medicinal part was a unconscious part, meaning later in life, this is where you go, oh, shit, there's something medicinal to this because I never went to the doctors. Oh,
Okay.
shit, there's something medicinal about this because I grew up very healthy.
Yeah.
I'm still very healthy. But, maybe smoking weed this whole time was that, but it wasn't my intention when I did it. Now, the
Exactly.
result might be that.
Exactly.
But it wasn't me going into it telling myself 30 years later in my life, I'm not going to suffer from as many things as some of my friends
Yeah.
because I intentionally thought of smoking weed. I thought of smoking weed because I'm a freaking stoner and a pothead.
Yeah.
Now, if it benefited me 30 years later, that's what it did, and that's what it gave me the realization of going, oh, wow, this shit really is medicine.
Right.
But it wasn't the reason why I used it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what and I like that you said that because that was pretty good. The thing is that back in the day, you had old folks who used to take weed and soak it in alcohol and rub it on their knees.
My
right?
grandma,
You know, stuff like that, rubbing on their joints and this, that, and the other.
she had arthritis and she
It
didn't
was
know,
exactly.
but it helped her.
They
So-
smoked the weed, but they also used it medicinally,
Yeah.
right? Smoked the weed, but they used it medicinally as
Eating the
well
greens, too.
in
So
areas
what
that
I-
they use. So I agree with you. One thing I want to say before we wrap it up is that those youngsters and those people that want to, smoke blunt after blunt after blunt. First of all, you smoking boo-boo weed to start with. And when
Yeah.
I say boo-boo, I don't mean that the weed is not good, right? Because we all get twisted about what's good weed. Oh, I got that indoor shit that look like this and look like that, right? That's that 45-minute weed. And that's why they smoking a blunt on top of a blunt on top of a blunt on top of a blunt. Because they're chasing to stay on that 45-minute high, and when it drops, they want to smoke another blunt to get back to that 45-minute high, and then they sitting around for about 4 hours smoking blunt after blunt to keep raising to that 45-minute high because you on some bullshit and you uneducated about the weed that you smoking, and you think just because it's purple and it glistening
high
and it
THC,
sticky and it
that
look
don't mean
good
nothing.
and somebody done told you this was the best shit ever, and you got to keep smoking it, it ain't the best shit ever. The best shit ever is when you hit that shit a couple of times.
You're good.
It get up in your system, and about maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes later, that shit got you high as hell. And then you looking around about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you like, damn, I'm still high.
right.
And you ain't had to smoke blunt after blunt after blunt. You only hit a half a joint. Now you smoking some good weed.
Right.
And this is the stuff we talking about when you saying smoking good weed. Y'all just ain't educated enough because y'all on that hype shit.
Yeah.
And that hype shit is just that. It only lasts long enough for you to play in the hype and then that shit gone. It's just like fads that y'all have. One day it's here, it's gone tomorrow. Remember the Running Man? That's gone. Now it's gone. Now remember the Superman? That dance gone. Remember the
The Running Man and the Superman.
song.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like a fad. Y'all chasing fads.
No,
One thing about it, we don't chase fads
Virgil,
here.
you so right about that. Like through this whole name generation for naming weed, you never ever saw the CBD content ever rise. It was like non-detectable. But if you remember, like the Cypress Hill OG, it was a 18% THC, but it almost had at least 2% CBD in it. And when you hit it, you felt it. It was
You
like
felt the CBD.
literally you sitting there looking like this. But most weed, it could be 38% THC with no CBD. So where's the entourage effect?
There is none.
What I wanted to add to what you said. I think recreational and medicinal go hand in hand because
Yeah, they do.
yes, because someone that's just being recreational like you're saying, people want to smoke 4 blunts and they get so high. Well, now you could use CBD to counterbalance that and to bring you back down, you know?
Absolutely.
So I agree. At first I was like, I felt like I disagreed, but no, I think recreational and medicinal go hand in hand, which is why we got to educate, because if we're not educated, we're going to miss out on some important information that can help you.
Absolutely. Now we're going to jump into our fun fact. I'm going to kick it off with the fun fact. In 2017, sales of medical and recreational cannabis in the U.S. were nearly 9 times higher than the sales of an Oreo cookie.
Oh.
Fun fact.
Okay, so my fun fact's gonna be 1970. 1970.
I'm listening. I just said haha because I'm listening.
So 1970 was when marijuana was classified as a Schedule 1 drug, and that's what we really trying to work towards right now today.
And before that, it wasn't.
Huh?
And before that, it wasn't.
And before it wasn't.
Yeah.
So if we can ever get it taken off the Controlled Substance Act, that would be a step in the right direction. The compromise, I think, is just to reschedule it to 3, but I think everybody on this panel here agrees that it should be taken off and just as a regular commodity.
Yeah, regular commodity.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Sir?
So you're
Marco?
angling. You
Sir
should go
Marco?
next with your fun fact.
Hey, it's
My fun fact,
agriculture.
yo. Oh my God. Let me see. I'm a bust.
Yeah, I say it's agriculture because we grow it like
we
tomatoes,
grow it like tomatoes and
lettuce.
everything else.
Hey, look,
Everything
my fun fact
else.
should have been hops that they make beer. That's a cousin of cannabis.
Exactly.
Treated just like
Hops,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I look at it like let people just use it for whatever they want. If they want to say it's medicinal, if they want to say it's because I just want to get super stoned, just let people use
Like
the
they
shit.
do in the Netherlands. Like, you know, you could in over there in Amsterdam, you can get heroin, you can get cocaine, you can get all them drugs in small forms.
Yeah.
And the reason why their addiction rate is down is because they don't have this ridiculous field war on drug shit or
Right.
war on drug stuff, right? Now, there are certain drugs that shouldn't be available in large quantities. And I think that's what Amsterdam has stopped. Large quantities of drugs converging onto their communities because they allow people to have legally have small portions of that drug. And it has taught them that 1, addiction rate is down, and 2, you don't have an overabundance of those drugs flooding your community. Why? Because if they can get little small amounts for a little or nothing, it devalues it to the point where it has no value. So now me as a so-called dealer see no value in pushing or peddling that product.
Yes.
Right.
And to add to this, brother, I think just to add to that, then it forces those here, because like you said, like even cocaine, for example, it forces, if you notice, the worst things are the ones we start manufacturing. Yeah. So what it does, it forces like the natural drugs to get pushed out, and then we go under our kitchen sink and put together some Clorox or some baking soda and mix in some this and that and call it some new
Drano.
shit.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, so
You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't letting me get the real shit.
and then that's why fentanyl is so popular. Even though you know fentanyl kills, you still got people wanting to smoke on some fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know,
let me
even
have the
though
real
you know it can kill you. You know, these people think, oh no, I figured out how to smoke it and not die. And next thing you know, he laying there dead. You's a dumb.
Look, I tell you guys about them 60 people that died right there in Garfield Park in Chicago, Illinois. After like you said, after the 55th person, someone should have been like, man, they not making it from this. But somebody said, I'm gonna do it and make it. And it's like, what type of, number one, when we talk about this, why did we criminalize drug use? If a person is using drugs, they're not breaking a crime. They calling out for help or some
and at
type
the end of the day, that's your business.
right.
Yeah.
That's
you-
your
you
business.
correct
That's not
me if
my
I'm wrong, brother. 'cause
You smoking dope ain't got nothing to do with me.
Yeah, why we criminalize
You
that?
you getting high on your front porch, backyard, in your room. What that got to do with me, and what law are you breaking? And if you in the comfort of your own home and you ain't bothering nobody behind it, man, do what you do. I ain't got a problem with that. As long as you ain't in my living room firing up the sherm or firing up a crack pipe,
Yeah.
we good.
Yeah.
But whatever you go do in the comfort of your home, man, do it. And that's why I don't understand. We wasted a lot of money, a lot of government resources, a lot of time on making stuff illegal to the point of that now we're finding reasons to fund this particular entity to go after this. For what? You wasting American dollars, because one thing you are not going to do is eradicate this world of drugs.
Nope.
We got to
But we
wrap
gonna
this
find
thing
something
up,
else to be a drug.
but we got to wrap it up. Fun fact, we got
What was your
any
fun
fun fact, Marco?
Oh, my fun fact, I'll just say it. Hemp paper hundreds of years old, found in museums, has not yellowed, and is thus a high quality paper of archival quality. So it
Right
doesn't
on,
yellow.
right on. Ruby, what you got for
My
us? You got
fun
any-
fact, since we were talking about how it's similar to wine, THC, if you let it age, it converts to CBN. So it degenerates over time. So if you have old weed and it's brown, don't throw it away, because it's some really good CBN, which not only is it going to help you sleep, but it's antimicrobial. So if you're fighting some sort of infection.
Right on, right on.
Kicking
And so make sure y'all subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in to Token Tuesday. We gonna holler at y'all next time. Until then, Marco, Ruby, and Keith,
Hey.
and myself,
yeah.
peace out.
Token Tuesday, this what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we doing in the cannabis world. We gon' let you know how the business go on a brand new show. Token Tuesday. Show you